Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ogbanje Joseph. Please subscribe to this channel, share, like, as well as drop a comment on the comment section. Our lecture today is titled The Nature of State in Third World Countries. The nature of state in third world countries. Okay, so according to the World Bank 2006 page 14, the third world comprises approximately 100 states in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Latin America, and the Caribbean. The combined population of the third world countries is over 4 billion, accounting for 77% of the world's total population, and their territories cover nearly 58% of the world landmass. There is also no doubt that the third world countries are naturally endowed in natural resources, but ironically and sadly though, the third world countries, which are supposed to be too rich to be poor, are today too poor to be rich. The reason is not far-fetched. Colonialism, weak institutions, bad leadership, political instability, and corruption. Even though some of the countries in the third world, have found their paths to development and relative stability, others, mainly in Africa, have not. The question that comes to mind is that it is bad. Is it bad global rules that are responsible for this, or bad state policies of these third world countries? Now, let us look at the concept of state. What is a state? Now, the state is a legal entity recognized by the international law as having a defined territory, population, and government who ensures the smooth existence and running of the state, free from external control. Now, according to Dumoye 2002, the operational process of the state anywhere can only be understood from the ideology of a state, which is expressed in form of rule and authority that find formal operation in constitution and, of course, jurisprudence, okay, of the state. Now, according to the Marxists, the state is the executive arm of the bourgeois class where their interests are protected. Now, the state here is an instrument of oppression. The argument is that whether it is the Marxist or the liberal view, what the people want is that they need a human association acting through law as promulgated by a government, endowed to this end with coercive power, and maintains law with a community territorially demarcated, and a universal external with a universally external conditions. Now, let us look at the nature of state in the third world. Now, what is the nature of state in the third world countries? What is the nature of state in the third world countries? Now, the nature of state in the third world countries is viewed from various perspectives. While some scholars see it from the economic dimension, others see it from the political or socio-economic and socio-cultural dimensions. Others even decide to lump them, together, But however, they can, they can be seen, they can actually be seen as follows. Number one, the third world states are seen as colonial creation. The third world states are seen as colonial creation. Now, according to Olowu 1994, page 4, colonialism sets the boundaries of states, provided it, with state-structured constitution, governance system, bureaucracy, and so on. as well as linked the countries of the third world, with global economy in a center-periphery relationship. Now, most African Asian nations were at one time or another colony of Western European countries like Britain, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Portugal, and Spain. Okay, number two, the third world states as an instrument of dominance and class control. According to Miliband, 1960, okay, the ruling class of a capitalist state, is the class which owns and controls the means of production and which is able, by virtue of economic power, thus conferred upon it, to use the state as its instrument for the domination of society. Karl Marx, in his dictum, the Communist Manifesto, made allusion to the fact that the executive of the modern state is but a committee for managing the affairs of the whole bourgeoisie. Okay? Now, one of the most direct indicators of ruling class domination of the state is the degree to which members of the capitalist class control the state apparatus through interlocking positions in the governmental, administrative, coercive, and other apparatuses. Number three, third world state as a failing state. Now, state failure is largely man-made, not accidental. Now, institutional fragilities and structural flaws contribute to failure, but those deficiencies usually hark back to decisions or actions of men. Now, leadership errors across history have destroyed states for personal gains, and these failing status, especially in Africa and Asia, these failing states, especially in Africa and Asia, are Afghanistan, Angola, Burundi, the Congo, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and what? And Sudan. Now, number four, third world states as pluralist in nature. Now, the pluralist view of the state sees modern society as divided into competing elements, which nevertheless find a kind of equilibrium. Okay, none gets its way to the exclusion of others. In this state, rather than focus on individual as a unit of analysis, they are focusing on groups. Okay, number five, third world state as a rentier state. Now, the concept of state as a rentier state was first mentioned by Hussein Mahdavi in 1970. A rentier state is considered, to be a state, okay, in which at least, okay, a rentier state is a state that is considered, to be at least 40% of the total government revenue consists of economic rents. Now, rent here is the return on investment in land, labor, and capital. Now, dependency on economic, rents leads to economic inefficiency, and as a consequence, okay, the obstruction of socioeconomic development. Okay, now let us look at. Now we are going to look at number six, and number six is third world state as agents of international capitalism and imperialism. Third world state as agent of international capitalism and imperialism. Now, a third world countries is subjected to control by extraneous forces. The underdeveloped nature of the economy and the nature of the ruling elite classes render the state dependent on foreign aid and capital. Now, the ruling elites act as mediators between the state and the external capital to amass wealth, and they defraud their states. Okay, now number seven, third world state as prebendal state. Now, the term prebendalism was first introduced by Richard A. Joseph in 1987, where he referred to it as patron clientelism. Now, prebendalism deals with the advancement of an individual based on monetary gains. Now, the elites use money to buy their ways into positions of authority from the electorate. Now, with the aim of recouping the money when they get to the office. That is actually number 7. Let's look at number 8. Number 8 here is that third world state as overdeveloped bureaucratic state. Third world state as overdeveloped bureaucratic state. Now, certain institutions which had been particularly significant for colonial government and which had relatively long history had been highly developed, namely the bureaucracy, the military, and the police. Now, the point being made here is that there's an overbloated bureaucracy which is too expensive and problematic, to manage, thereby underdeveloping the third world societies. Now, in summary, therefore, okay, many of the problems which characterized, the group of countries originally labeled the third world countries by the Western analysts, and which prompted solidarity action by third world leaders, you know, uh, persist. Now, the countries conventionally categorized as part of the third world countries, do not all rank the same in terms of indicators of third world status used here, but all confront, some of the problems associated with the third world status. And most of the 50 low income countries experience them all. Okay, so those are just the major things. In as much as all the third world countries are not all ranked the same, majority of the features of the third world countries actually, is staring at them in the face, in their faces across all the countries that are domiciled in the third world states. Thank you very much.